I don't know. Whatever. Like we were saying, it would be amazing if we started this and it's the switch on you, Rob. As you're like, and we're talking about Thor, all of a sudden, boom, as John just did, switched over to Ms. Marvel, just to pull the hijinks. The
wait, what's wait, are we doing one now? What's Oh,
we're doing Resident Evil, Rob.
Yeah, well, I thought you knew. We're doing the new Resident Evil franchise, Rob.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and actually, jokes on both of you. We're actually doing another one, which is Westworld. So, welcome to my comprehensive TED Talk.
What season is it? 4, right? It's 4, right? I'm missing 2.
Use a different one else. It's a soft reboot. I don't know what's happening.
I haven't seen any. I'm waiting until.
Imagine if they did that. Going on. Imagine if they did like comics. They always do like these kind of like soft reboots. Imagine if all of a sudden season 5 was like a soft reboot, and you start seeing the same story again from the beginning with a twist.
They are doing it. It's not the first time on television that they've done a soft reboot. But there we are. Here we are. So
people are praying for that Game of Thrones final season reboot.
It's all I think when George already said, just bear in mind the book's gonna be different than the TV show. We're all like, yeah, no guff. So, nonetheless, welcome everyone to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. We are here to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder, a movie that has come out in the theaters. Gangbusters, I would say, making a lot of moolah. So we're here to give the people thoughts and to let them know whether you should watch us in the theater or wait 45 days and watch it on demand.
Whoa!
Here.
Wait. John interrupted Stu. Stu got concerned and he's like, wait, what's going on, John?
Yeah,
John's
what was the interrupted? What was the comment, John, you said?
No, just because you said 45 days. He's like, whoa.
I just said, whoa.
That dum-dum over here would have been like, that's crazy, 45 days. What type of world do we live in? And then you would have retorted with, John, it's the way of the world. But instead, John just went, whoa.
Oh, whoa. I thought this was his silent protest of Buzz Lightyear by going, like Tim Allen. Like I thought that was what the Tool Time Tim Taylor situation. So it's funny because I'm here, of course. I'm Stu Pei. I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. I'm here with one of the owners, proprietors of Heroes World, that be Mr. John Ho.
Howdy, folks.
And one of the relatives of the newly signed Gaudettes of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mr. Rob Gaudette.
Hello, stick handle in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This guy named Adam Gaudette of the Gaudettes got signed by the Leafs. So I'm just assuming you're related. Just like I'm sure that John's related to everyone else. Last name.
Hey, Dr. Ho's. You guys have heard of Dr. Ho massage machine? Yeah, that's my uncle.
Yeah, can you lend us $5, John? Because since you're rolling in money, we'll talk.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of people that are looking to file a statement of claim against that guy.
Oh, really? Did he get canceled?
No, it does make a lot of sense, John. It makes sense how there's this person named Vanis who's been running around the streets. I don't know where he obtained this wealth to buy all these things, but Rob and I were actually lining up to watch Thor: Love and Thunder, and we looked up in the theater, lights started flashing, and the name all of a sudden with the Vanis popped up first because need to let us know. Well, the following couple phrases that Rob and me were just wondering: Diamond Lover Life Lover Boy, he moves in space with maximum waste and maximum joy. City lights and business lights. When you require a streetcar desire for your higher heights. Again, trying to figure out what that means, trying to figure out what that is. For those of you who know, please let us know the mystery and the enigma known as Vanis.
You know what, Stu? It confused me, and I think it may have confused you too.
Some people would say, he would like to think he's a smooth operator, but I don't think that's going to be the situation. So we're going to continue on this conversation.
We're never going to get one of these.
We're going to talk about Thor that came out in the movie theaters, of course, as we discussed. It has been out, and we can talk about in terms of people's thoughts on this movie. I think Rotten Tomatoes, I think the critic score and top score, as I'm pulling it up right now, what was The Rotten Tomato score was not great. I don't know, my internet is not working, but we'll head back in a minute.
Hey, while you're pulling that up, I have a question for John. Hey, John, is that a candy necklace you're wearing? Like, are you gonna start having like a snack halfway through the?
It's those.
Is it?
Candy bead necklaces.
I think that's the puka shells from the late 2000s that he is rolling right now. So that's
days.
Back in the day when those were a thing. Okay.
Yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 68% from the tachometer or whatever you want to call it, and then 80% audience score. So relatively lower considering.
Cinema score, I believe, was a B+. So again, it's one of those films where I make the jokes that sometimes maybe Taika would have went a little too JK on this, JK rolling on it. But the audience score is high. People seem to like it. But we'll go into our thoughts momentarily. But John, we went into this watching the trailer going, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be action-packed. Those of you who read the comic know Gore as a very interesting character, as well as we know, Thor, who is Jane Foster, is also a very interesting character. How are they going to tie us all together? We knew it was a big cast. Guardians were in it. A whole bunch of people were in it. And rumors up the wazoo. We knew Christian Bale was signed on. So give us your thoughts. You were hyped to this film. What is your initial non-spoilery thoughts of Thor: Love and Thunder?
Yeah, so originally I didn't actually watch a lot of the trailers, so I didn't have a lot of hype going in until we did a rewatch of Ragnarok before going into this. And I remembered how much I loved Ragnarok. Like it's probably going to go in my top 5 Marvel movies. But this movie, overall thoughts of it, I thought it was a lot of fun. This is a very different movie than I think some Marvel moviegoers might be expecting. So we're probably going to see ratings all over the place. So it's going to be interesting.
Rob, your thoughts?
Well, I was very excited going into this movie. The trailer had me sold. I mean, the trailer for Ragnarok was phenomenal. The trailer for this one with little Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses. So you knew you were going to be getting at least that track in there. I didn't realize we were going to be getting 3 more.
The entire album. How about that? Spoiler alert.
The entire album, Appetite for Destruction, plus something from Use Your Illusion 2. And I was very surprised at the end result of this movie. I got to say, overall, I'm kind of disappointed.
Wow.
Not to say I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointed because I think my expectations were definitely not met.
Did you go with the wife by any chance?
I did not. I went with my son, my ride or die movie partner.
What is his thoughts? Because he has a very particular palate. So what was his
he's 13, likes everything. He also
no, that's not true. There are things he doesn't like. There have been times when you've told the stories. He's like, Dad, I don't know if I like this.
No, that was more. Although he did like Venom too, so I'm telling you, it's really
when my friend saw the Blu-ray or something on sale, he's like, "Is it worth $16?" And I'm like, "Never in a million years."
It's not even.
No, my son wasn't I mean, he thought it was okay, but he was also disappointed with it. We'll get into it later, but
so
he
was
thought
similar
it was way
to
more sillier than what that like. It just wasn't as much fun as Ragnarok. So,
I think it's one of those things where Taika had a lot of clout from an Academy Award nominated film, and this was the full Taika Waititi experience. And I think we understand whether you're on board or not. I think people right now at this time period, coming off of COVID and whatnot, are looking for a very relaxed, fun experience. This is essentially like an NCIS, like, don't turn on your brain, you can watch it, enjoy movie. Definitely what this is. It's a popcorn experience. It's a movie where you can just go in, you don't need to know anything, you don't need to like nothing, you can just walk into it, watch it, and walk out of it. Same thing, it's in and out, good to go. It's a big divergence compared to the last 3. I think all the Thor movies have pivoted all over the place. I ride or die with Thor 1. I don't care when it says. I still love that.
I rewatched it recently. I actually quite enjoyed it. Yeah, I feel like this movie is more along the lines of that first movie, though.
Oh, not at all.
No,
not at all.
When we get to spoilers, I'll say.
No.
I'll say why I think that.
Dark World was people were like poo-pooing it, but I understood what they're doing.
I couldn't do it, man. I tried
Ragnarok
again.
was like a really fun punch in the shoulder of all these Marvel like cookie cutter movies. And even now, I'm like, people are like, "Oh, cookie cutter." I look back at all these films in Phase 4. I'm like, are they cookie cutters? Like they've got a lot of different directors, and especially we'll go into it very quickly about Phase 4. But Phase 4 has been such an interesting phase. So that's a little tease as to what's coming up. But John, give us your thoughts of your scoring of 1 to 10, or as a Spinal Tap, the mythical 11. So where are you rating for 10?
So it doesn't crack the 11, but if we're just giving out scores, I'm going to say 10.
Wow.
This guy, you're out of control. Like somebody needs to rein you in. You need to be seen by a professional. There's
Am I out of control? I'll give you my reasons after,
man.
To be fair, there's no accountability. If we were starting to rate episodes, if we had a spreadsheet of what John rated as like 10s or like all of them, I think we'd have we're just not doing the data science, Rob. Like we're not following up. So I don't think we can say anything. Rob, what are you giving this out of 10?
6.5.
Whoa! Is that the lowest rating you've given a Marvel movie?
Might be. No, Black Widow was like a -2.
It is.
Stu?
It is. This is a hard one, man. Like it's watchable.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go 7. It's like I would if I had to say, would you rather watch this or Morbius or Venom 2
or Black Widow?
I'm saying this.
Right.
So, but just by default, all those ones. So I have to go.
No, I think most of the people I talked to at the shop were around Stu's score, around the 7 and a bit.
Yeah, 7 and a bit. 7. I've had some time to digest and think. I don't even know how I feel about this next to the Eternals. That's where I'm at. I'm like, man, Eternals and this one had like similar like peaks and valleys where I'm like, do I need to reevaluate my feelings for the Eternals? So let's go. That's
over Eternals.
Okay, John. So let's do the spoiler because there's lots of questions to be had, and we need to go in there. So play the lights. Do the thing.
Spoilers alert!
Spoiler alert!
Those listening at home on Spotify or on YouTube, iTunes. John, give us your list because we've been waiting. It's been a while. What is it? What do you got?
Yeah. So the reason I give it a 10 out of 10 is because I'm rating this on the rom-com scale. So this movie is a rom-com, 100% through and through. Look at Rob's ready to jump in here, but he can get his chance to speak. So as far as romantic comedies go, this is your blend between Kate and Leopold, Enchanted, and A Walk to Remember. So
which is what everybody wants in a Marvel movie.
Exactly. If they played that Mandy Moore song towards the end, this would have been a smash. But overall, I think like if I rate it on that scale, it's pretty solid. I will argue that maybe you could have used. I think it was 1 hour 53 minutes. I think they could have used 7 minutes to give Jane Foster a little more time, because she kind of just turns into Thor and you don't even get an intro or whatever. But overall, lots of fun. So I'm gonna rate it on. I'm gonna give you my list of my most fun kind of gags in this because we knew it was all about the jokes. Taika just went overdrive. Like so, to Stu's point, I think he probably turned the knob a little too far. Some of the jokes he probably needed to give a little more time to set up. He kind of like threw too many in a row and didn't give them time to kind of expand. So my most funny things in the movie would say, okay, so number 5 is Zeus and his lightning gag. So when he's throwing it behind his back and doing the XMA martial arts stuff, I thought that was really funny. I've heard both sides of the story, whether they like this portrayal of Zeus or they didn't like the version of him. I'm not even going to touch that. I'm going to say when he was throwing around the lightning and showing off his tricks, that was freaking hilarious. Number 4 is a Jean-Claude Van Damme split kick in the intro of this movie, which lets you know that this movie is going to be totally bonkers and just to throw your expectations out the window. So number 3 is the whole Guardian stuff. So when he was like, "Oh, look at you want to see something you love," and then the Thor's like trying to slide into the frame. And then I think they're leaving, and Nebula's like, "Get it, everyone, we're leaving right now," or whatever. And he's trying to have like a touching moment with them, and they're just like, "We're out." Although I feel like they did kind of trick us with the trailers, and you only got like an intro of Guardians, and that was it. I thought this was going to be maybe team up. Number 2 is Stormbringer being jealous. So Stormbringer just flying to the side and acting like this inanimate object that not really an animated object, I guess, that kind of was fighting for Thor's affections. The almost the third wheel or the third love interest in the triangle was a hilarious point. And then the gag that I thought I wasn't gonna like, but it came back and paid off so many times. You guys can guess it or not. It's the screaming goats. The first time these screaming goats show up, I was like, are they going to keep these the whole movie? Is this going to get old? It did not get old. It was freaking hilarious. It popped back up at the end when they were like crashed in the planet. It was such a good gag. But those are my favorite funny things. And shout outs to Christian Bale for not being funny at all whatsoever. Not even reacting to the jokes that Thor would throw at him, which is, I think, like Ronan the Accuser and Guardians and stuff is kind of like going, what are you doing? Like type things. This guy just straight up ignored everything Thor said. So I thought that was a really cool thing for just Christian Bale to just come in and play everything completely serious. So those are my fun things of the movie. Let's see what you guys got.
Rob?
First of all, I want to give John a big hug because I love his enthusiasm and excitement. He's like a kid.
Why you gotta be such a hater? You gotta let love win, Rob.
I want to give you the hug.
Why are you dead inside? Why are you so dead? Why are you dying inside?
I can write an autobiography and tell you exactly why I'm dead inside. Hey man, okay, so listen. There's so much of this movie that bothers me. When you walk out of a theater and you're more excited to jump in the car and put on a GNR playlist than you are to talk about this movie, I think they've missed the mark. Like all I wanted to do was hit that last 5 minutes of November Rain. I added that in. No, that was the fight scene. I actually felt that this is we've talked about this being a very Taika Waititi movie, but I think it actually is a bit too much Taika in so much as that he makes his character what's his face? What? Korg. Thanks. Korg, like almost like a central figure, right? Like it was too much of him in this movie, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. I did have a friend of mine, though, say that because Korg is relaying the story of Thor starting at the very beginning, that the absurdity that we see is not really reflective of what actually transpired, but more of the story being relayed to everybody via Korg. So the splits never really happened. It's just a fantastical, as a storybook.
Yeah, what does it say? Legendary adventure or something? He said something
right, and so and it starts off, and so you're actually watching this movie really as told through the tales of Korg. When I step back and think of it that way, I can almost then accept, because I was just too stupid to like realize that, I can almost accept that the artistic choices that they took. However, I will say that it wasn't clear. I mean, it wasn't clear to me. I'm somewhat intelligent, not really, but somewhat. And it wasn't clear to me that this was the narrative in which they were going for.
Did you need the Lewis full like voiceover, like in Ant-Man? It's like, I do God and thing, and like
I just
have to be that over the top where
it would have been nice if there was a moment where Korg is relaying and then Thor steps in and he goes, no, wait, that didn't happen like that. Like, and then it brings it back more, so you realize, oh, okay, then the narrative of this. So because this is an extremely
what's the opening of that movie, Neverending Story or whatever, with what's his name reading the book to Fred Savage? You wanted that opening instead?
Well, no, it just felt like if it was super silly. Like this movie is amped up on the silliness, and I think that's because of Korg and Taika. I wanted to see, like, I hated Thor's outfit. I hated his helmet. I hated the Zeus thing. Like,
the helmet for 2 seconds.
Stupid. 2 seconds too long. The entire Greek council or the gods council, whatever it was just like a waste. Like it was a way to backdoor in, no pun intended, Zeus.
Rob, right, like, don't besmirch the bow god. Like there's anything
that was pretty wacky.
Like all I'm saying,
bow god is a thing.
Yeah. I'm watching Russell Crowe, and I'm thinking, man, how far you have come from Gladiator, bro. Like you were jacked in Gladiator, and now you're like on the Marlon. You're on the Marlon Brando cinematic, explosion here. The action scenes I thought were
well. If you're gonna do that, you're gonna talk about all the actors that have slummed it. You mean, Pacino and all those guys have basically.
No, I just meant more of his stature. I really thought that whole scene was just like a waste. Christian Bale at the beginning of the movie when he was the prologue of this, and I thought, wow, that's a really weird choice to take, because I had just recently read the Jason Aaron Thor omnibus, and I was like, that's interesting. But as the movie goes on, gore is quite terrifying. Like there's that scene on the planet when he's got the kids and he's sitting in the shadows watching them, and like he was terrifying. So like, I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more when they did those action scenes. They hit it hard. I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more interaction with Natalie Portman's Thor as well, right? Like the goddess of thunder. Like I wish we got more of that. I wish we got to see what happens when the hammer hit, because we all saw those behind the scenes pictures of her rising up on New Asgard, right? Like I was expecting to see that. Like I just felt that they cut a lot of what was probably really good and cohesive at the sacrifice of keeping in the silly. And so for me, when I said it's like, I liked the movie in so much as I enjoyed it. It's interesting for what it was doing, but I gave it a 6.5 because it did not even come close to living up to what Ragnarok was. Like tonally, it's so different. And I'm so disappointed with the way that Thor is portrayed in this and the way that the jokes just got too much. And so that's why I gave it a low. I am glad I saw it in the theater, and I will see it when it comes on streaming, but I won't go back to the theater to see this movie. And I just wish it was a different version of Thor.
I think it's the evolution is that he is changing from movie to movie. And I think your friend's insight is a really smart one, because I didn't even think about that at all. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a thing. And now that I think back, I'm like, yep, Korg explained it and in his way. It's a pretty, and John alluded to, it's good. This movie's going to be a very divisive. It's either, I've already had this conversation with several people. It's your top 5 or your bottom 5. Like there's pretty much either no in between. It's either you love this movie and you're like, it's great. It's not tethered by the MCU. It's like you can do whatever you want. Or you're in the camp of like, this movie was hot garbage. It's one of the worst films. And you could say, because people are like, well, comparing it to the other movies, however bad Thor in the Dark World was, it was a cohesive story from beginning to end. This was all over the place, where I'm just like, man, they had so many interesting choices. And because they shoved both Jane Foster Thor and Gord, the God Butcher, like they just did neither of them correctly. Spoiler alerts, like at the end, like, don't get me wrong, I love, like, if you've watched this podcast, you know how much I love Hercules. So the moment where Hercules shows up, I was like screaming. I'm like, finally, John, now you're on the Roy Kent bandwagon. But if this was a year ago, you'd be like, who is this guy?
Who?
I don't know this guy. So I'm glad that, like, first off, the Russell Crowe character was ridiculous and over the top.
Stupid.
I found it fit Zeus. So I'm good with that. Like, because as stoic and as tragic as Odin was, Zeus is kind of like a weird, ridiculous character in Greek mythology. Like, he is a womanizer, does this, like, all the wackadoo things where he turns himself into weird animals. Like, yeah, I imagine him being something like this. He's not as a stoic god character. He's kind of a goof that runs around doing things. So, yeah, I found that interesting, and I was happy to see Russell Crowe alive. And then the final scene of Jane Foster going, and then shout out to Heimdall. I'm like, whoa, there's Idris Elba. It's like, there he is. Welcome to Valhalla. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, I thought that was a nice, like, button to it. So if I look at all the Phase 4 films, it's going to be really interesting later on. There'll be a day when we re-rank them all and see how we do. And we'll do maybe a little impromptu at the end of this pod, but it will be interesting to see where we lie. I found that, like, to your point, I made that comment before where you could tell in the Harry Potter books when J.K. Rowling had nobody tell her what to do anymore. And it's essentially when the Quidditch period got to from 10 pages to 55 pages. You can tell when an editor was no longer involved and be like,
Quidditch is the weird sport they invented for it, right?
Roll back the Quidditch. Roll back the Quidditch.
Yeah.
We don't need this much Quidditch.
Yeah, you knew there was a problem when the earlier books, your kids could carry them themselves. And then all of a sudden, when the new books came out, they're like, Dad, can you carry this for me? It's too heavy. There's obviously an issue.
There's a thing, and again, we complain so much that the Marvel movies don't have feeling to them because you watch, they're pretty bland. Taika went full out. And now I guess people are complaining it's a little too full out. I don't think we'll ever be satisfied because
that's the nature of nerdism.
That's the nature of these Marvel films, right? Like Multiverse of Madness. Some people it wasn't their cup of tea. Either it was not enough horror or too scary. They just can't figure out how to kind of hit it right in the middle. I get it. It's you're trying to hit all the vectors, but still kind of keep and kind of hit in different areas because you don't want these. A young Kevin Feige said, we don't want to keep on doing origin movies. We'll do something different. So I guess now let's do origin TV shows and then we'll just throw them in the movies. And I wonder, to you two quickly, are we going to see the time when we no longer have movies of individual characters, but it's all the TV show characters in movies now for big Avengers events? Like maybe we do a Thor, the big guys, but every single other one will be like, yeah, you'll see Moon Knight only in a movie with everyone else. Other than that, he's back on TV. Same with Ms. Marvel. Same with Hawkeye. They're just going to be TV shows. And then every once in a while, they'll just show up on a movie screen. Do you think that's the direction we're going in? All right, go right up.
No, I don't think so. I think it's evidenced by Shang-Chi, which that movie feels like it's growing on me the more time. I keep going back and watching it. I think that it captures. I've said this before on this podcast that the simplicity of these Marvel movies is now is gone to where juxtaposed to what it was at the beginning because there's just so much this that they're trying to serve too many storylines, too many events, they're setting things up. And that's where I got mad about this movie with Zeus because they're just setting up they could have done it really easily with a really nice bookend. They didn't need to have that anyways. So, but I think if you take a look at what these Phase 4 movies and even the latter half of the Phase 3, and then you actually compare it to what I would say is the simplicity of Shang-Chi, I think you need that. I think you need to have those origin stories in the theater intermixed with these, if you want to call them bigger spectacles or, cross pollination of different characters. Because if you just relegate them to television, I think you do a disservice. Now, yeah, you had Moon Knight on TV and you had Miss Marvel on TV and Kate Bishop. And yes, we will see them on the big screen and we got She-Hulk coming. But I still think you do need to have those individual stories, those origin stories told to kind of be the anchor point cinematically.
I think I'm going to actually disagree with Rob here. I actually think you're right, Stu, in your line of thinking. I think they're going to phase it out because these movies have to bring in as much money. They have to Top Gun this shit, right? So they're going to make sure that everything is lined up and everything is like a big event. So I think that's why people aren't liking this phase as much as the other phases. There's no end game, pun intended, that's going to line up and sync all these things together. And I think that's what people are missing right now. So I think we're going to talk about Ms. Marvel later. I think Ms. Marvel is going to be that moment where when you see her on the big screen now, we've watched the TV show. It's a brilliant show without any spoilers. But when you see her pop on the big screen, I think everyone's unanimously going to go, everyone's going to be cheering. Everyone's going to be really happy to see her on the big screen. So now that they've kind of created this whole Disney Plus thing, I think you are going to see a lot of these origin movies start to disappear. I can't imagine them dropping something along the lines of a Captain America First Avenger.
Okay, but Nova.
Now, yeah, Nova. Are they going to start? I don't think they can start at the beginning. I think they're going to have to do a TV show, or they're going to have to drop a hint somewhere else.
To be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Nova's going to is a movie.
Yeah, so it might be some type of galactic adventure, right? So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to get these numbers they want to achieve without laying down a whole bunch of groundwork.
But that actor has already said he wants to be another Marvel character. So Rob, did you hear about that?
No.
So they're doing, I guess, the press junket stuff, and they asked Ryan Gosling. It's like, hey, so there's a lot of rumors about you being Nova.
Oh, I know.
And he was like,
I
really don't want that. And John, do you know who he said he wanted to be instead?
Yeah. On Twitter, it's trending. It's him as Ghost Rider, I believe, right?
Oh, okay. I did see
I want to be Ghost Rider.
graphic and everybody.
I didn't realize he was rumored for Nova, but again, that wouldn't be a TV series. Like, I think that would be a movie. I think the problem with TV.
Well, I think it's a matter of who the actor is. You get a big time actor. If it's Keanu, it's not a TV show; it's a movie. If it's like a lesser name actor, it'll be like, we're gonna do TV and build up. Like, it really depends on who they get as the person. Like, as much as all of us love Tatiana Maslany from like Orphan Black, she's not big enough that you could start her off in a movie, right? And Oscar Isaac done movies, but I don't know if anyone's actually been like, man, we got to break bank and go to the movie theater to watch Oscar Isaac. Like, he's a good actor, but he's not that type of actor. So I think it really depends on if you get the name, and all of a sudden things change. Same with Ms. Marvel. Again, wonderful actress, but again, it wasn't like she was a well-known person before being cast as Ms. Marvel, right?
I think people are going to be like lose their crap when she appears on the big screen. I'm not saying you're wrong, Rob. I'm saying that I think that's the marketing that they're going to. I would love to see another origin movie done big Hollywood style, right? But
let's knock to that point, Rob, because I think the elephant in the room is Phase 4. It's been kind of like Shang-Chi, aimless. What is the purpose of this phase? What are they doing? Where are we going? It's if your phase is basically, if Black Widow was like, I don't know what to do with myself as Black Widow, eventually all of these movies are like, what do I do now? Because that's the only theme that I can see with all these characters. Black Widow is like, what do I do? Shang-Chi is like, I have these rings. What do I do now? Internals are like, hey, what do we do? Like, every single one of these themes is basically like lost and trying to discover themselves in a world where, there's a lot of opportunities. Even Thor, whole discovery of himself.
So, but maybe we are recording this and we are a week and a half out of San Diego Comic-Con. We know that Marvel is making an appearance back at Comic-Con with a big Hall H presentation. They are going to be announcing their big stuff. And at that point, they will probably be announcing.
We know what it is.
But you and I know, and John knows it's Secret Wars and everything else like that. But
I don't even think it's that.
I think it is.
I think right now, we've been teased since Loki. It's Kang the Conqueror. So, and he's going to be in the new, Ant-Man
and the Wasp.
Ant-Man the Wasp, Electric Boogaloo, whatever it is. So we know that is essentially what's coming up, and Kang has been edged up. I just thought that we would see some sort of remnants of this character in any of these films. Like, again, he's a big enough villain that the Avengers do have to get together to take him out because he's just too strong on its own. Either it's going to be a Back to the Future where they're going to do clips of him dealing with all these other characters in other movies, but I'm just wondering, going, hey man, like, are we missing something? I
think they've set it up too much that they have to drop hints. Like, how many Thanos like little tidbits did we get? And now they're seemingly not doing it. So people are going to be like, "Oh, you can't go back and do a flashback at the beginning of the next big movie, and we'll be okay with it."
We're aimless. We're aimless. There's lots of projects, and we're aimless. We have no end point to finalize these next few phases. Right? We knew the end of Phase 1 would be the Avengers. Like they talked about that pretty early on, so that you knew you were building towards that. And they even dropped the Thanos, hints at the end of Avengers, so you knew that eventually he's your big bad. We just don't have anything. We've had 4 movies, 3 or 4 TV shows, and if it's Kang, my understanding is the end of Phase 4 was supposed to end with Fantastic Four. With no director now, I have no idea what is happening with that. So again, we're talking about this a week and a half before Comic-Con, before any announcements are formally made. So maybe we'll come back, obviously, to discuss Comic-Con and discuss what they've announced, and maybe we'll have a better roadmap and direction of where we're going. But we know there's like Blade supposed to be out there is coming. We know like there's another Guardians. Like there's a whole bunch of shit happening. New Captain America movie being made. So
Black Panther coming out in November.
Yeah, without November, and so we'll see what direction they have. But it feels very aimless right now, much like this movie. This movie was very aimless.
You're dead inside.
No, I think like if we were to rate the 3 best movies from Phase 4, John, what we have: Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, what I think 1 and 2 are pretty clear.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so my top 3.
No, what are your 3? What are your 3?
Yeah, so my 3 choosing from the list that you just threw out there. I think Shang-Chi,
Gold medal,
and then
you're saying Shang-Chi gets the gold medal over.
I think Shang-Chi, like Rob said, it's growing on me more and more. Like I did enjoy it in theaters, and then kind of like felt like lukewarm about it afterwards. And then upon a couple of rewatches, it's really like kind of like I'm appreciating it a lot more. So I feel like Shang-Chi is going to be number 1. So I think I even got them ranked right now. Doctor Strange is number 2, and then I think Spider-Man is number 3 for me, with Thor very close. So wow. Despite that, we're kind of like saying that the general feeling for Phase 4 is down. I actually kind of like these very genre-specific movies. I really like Multiverse of Madness in the horror genre. I really like this Love and Thunder in the rom-com genre. And then Shang-Chi kind of like goes to the kung fu like action genre, right? So, and then Spider-Man is just like wall-to-wall craziness. So it's hard to deny that one.
How did you not go wall crawler to wall crawler craziness? How did you miss that?
Oh, you're so smart, Rob. Wall crawler to wall crawler.
John, Rob, what's your top 3?
Oh, I'll be right now. Okay, so Spider-Man: No Way Home is the top, and then I've got Shang-Chi as number 2. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm struggling with my 3rd because I didn't mind the Eternals. Like I actually think
that's fair enough. That's fair. Yeah,
I think Eternals is number 3, and then for me, it's a battle between Doctor Strange and Thor. Like Black Widow is obviously at the end. Like it's the socks to my ensemble. But,
I want to give it another shot.
I don't know. I mean, I would have to rewatch both Strange and Thor again. I guess I'm inclined to give Thor the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the number 4 spot, and then Doctor Strange. But those two can be right now inner. But yeah, for me, definitely Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Eternals.
I tend to agree with you, Rob. Those are my 3 as well. I think back at Black Widow, and all the funny scenes I think of just basically involve one character.
David Harbour.
That's what I'm saying. I think
no,
she elevates it enough that it's not
that Elena.
Elena, like she, like, Florence Pugh, like she crushes it. Like I just think of all the thing, even the scene where she's like, "Why do you turn your hair?" And like everything about that film, she's the best thing in it. Yeah. And I have problems because they waste. Even worse than Gore, they waste Taskmaster to like an epic degree. I'm like,
yeah,
worst. And then I look back at Doctor Strange Multiverse, and it's still Multiverse of Madness has the same problem with Thor, where it's a little disjointed, like it's a little all over the place. Eternals, you could say the same thing too, but it had a strong message of like, here are the Eternals, here are the Celestials, like. This is the thing. You may not have liked the slowness or whatever of the story, but it was pretty concise of what it was. It's like they've been here all time. We're gonna start this out to the end. And why is Dane here? Well, he's Black Knight. That's fine. But if you look at this, like, why is Lady Sif here? Like in Thor, like again, nice to see Jamie Alexander again. Good to know she survived. But even in the beginning, like when Cor was like, oh yeah, when Thor's this guy died and that guy and whoever this guy was, I'm like, Warriors 3,
these guys,
like, oh man, like that's it. Like, oh, remember Zachary Levi, the person you like a lot? Nope, this guy. We won't even acknowledge him. So it's again, even all the scene with all the characters, like I felt like this movie missed Loki so much. Because what's strung together with those 3 Thor movies that I appreciate, because I'm a little biased because I have a brother, is because that brotherly relationship of like 2 different opposing forces that love each other, but they have different views and opinions and just clashing constantly. And that first film, when you can see the pain that Loki is dealing with, because he wants the throne just like Thor, but they're both not ready for it. And it's just a maturation and growth to the end when you get Ragnarok, which is a complete story from beginning to end, which is probably my favorite Thor movie. And you see the brothers kind of at the tail end. It's like, just like, hey man, I wanted to be with you forever. Like, I loved you, but every time I did something else, you stabbed me in the back. Like, I just realized it's not going to work.
So Stu, what's your ranking of the Thor movies then?
Thor Ragnarok, Thor 1, and like, God.
You're putting Love and Thunder last, probably? You're debating over putting it last?
I am. I'm really debating.
Wow. I'm shocked.
Here's the thing. Like, as ridiculous, there are still moments of that movie where there's feeling and emotions of like loss, and Thor grows in those other films. Like, truly, and so does Loki. Like, there are moments. Dark World is a Loki film because Loki's like, oh man, like his selfishness caused the death of his mother, and he grows from it. He eventually tricks him and dies again, but like there's another thing too. But in this one, I'm like, Thor, you're supposed to. It's the same thing with how I hated the Sex and the City movies. Like, Samantha, you grew so much in this series, and then here you are in this movie, just reverting back to the self that you were beforehand. This is stupid. I just wasted 6 seasons watching you develop to be with Smith, and here you are just. I don't want to be with him anymore after dealing with
Sex in the City.
Ridiculous. I'm out.
Spoilers, folks.
Wow.
So
wait till he starts talking about the Sex and the City TV series, guys. The reboot. Then we're all
I
screwed.
appreciate all cinema, but that's the thing I felt about this movie was like it was lacking that, and just focusing even on the. Like, as much as the bit players, like as much as I love watching Matt Damon in the background, I'm like, maybe too much time with Matt Damon.
A bit too much, yeah. When they're like, "Should we put together a play?" I'm like, "This is a funny joke, but this is not necessary."
It doesn't need to be here. Like, it doesn't need to be here. John, how do you rank the Thor movies?
The Thor, I put Ragnarok at the top, and I think I put Thor 1 second because I feel like these two go. Thor 1 is has this kind of magic to it, I feel like. And then this Love and Thunder and then Dark World because I can't get through it no matter how hard I try. So
I'm surprised because I thought you would have had this one up higher. I thought you would have put this one.
I'm tempted to put it second. You know what? I'm going to flip that around. I'm going to put it second because I think I would watch this before I watch number 1.
This guy can't commit to anything.
Rob.
Hey, shut up. You're dead inside.
Ragnarok, Thor, probably Love and Thunder, and then Dark World. But I don't hate, like, Dark World has grown on me because I just saw it a little while ago, and I appreciate it now more than I did. But I would probably put this one.
Like, there's elements of that film, like Odin going crazy, like.
Yeah,
like, I will kill them all. It's like there's a lot of the Dark World has a thing where it was like I will kill them all. Doesn't matter how many of my people die, I will murder them all. I'm like, holy smokes, this is like serious.
But you know what's really weird, and I guess upon reflecting, I think about it now. Like Thor, I felt like Dark World was a placeholder to say, "Hey, we need to have a Thor movie." and to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way with this one. I'm like, we need to have a it's like a placeholder, right? Like it's just Iron Man 2 was the same way. So I kind of feel like they're not moving the ball. They're just reminding you these characters are still on the field, and I don't necessarily think that that's always the best course to go ahead with these projects.
Last thoughts as we go through. What do you think of this? The twist at the end with the daughter, because in the comics, Thor does have
hated it. Hated it. Don't give a shit. I don't care. It's so stupid. I was like, great. Now we got this little now we have baby Grogu. Now we've got little Princess Leia hanging out with their adult trying to get them. Like, I don't care. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not. Listen, this is gonna sound heartless. I'm a dad. You've got just. If she happens to get obliterated, then I might be okay with it.
You are super dead inside. The beginning of this movie where they open with Christian Bale and the daughter passed away really had me shook. I was like, hashtag girl dad, whatever you want to call it. I was like, oh my God, this is super sad. How are they going to make me laugh after this? And they did, and I still thought about it. And when she came back at the end,
they gave you goats. That just shows. I feel so sad. Will I ever laugh again? Oh, look, flying goats.
But I was actually very happy to see her brought back at the end, and I did find it pretty cute when she's tying up her boots, and he's like, "Oh, you want to take this?" And then he's like, "You take the small one. I'll take the big the hammer and stuff like that." I actually am looking forward to what they're going to do with that. I think a lot of people might not enjoy it though. Similar to Jack Reacher 2 movie that fell apart. I think it was the whole saddling him with, I don't know, saddling him, but adding the kid element that people didn't dig. So I'm slightly concerned, but I would watch it.
I thought, Rob, you're going to complain the nepotism of like, of course he cast his own daughter as his daughter. So
yeah, I thought that was even cuter after I learned that.
Yeah,
great. That's good for her.
You are dead, good sir.
She gets this bad card. I don't know. I'm not. This is nothing about her. This is not about her. I'm just saying that the whole idea, the notion of it, just irritated me. I was just like, oh, come on, man. I don't know. Is she gonna get her own TV show now?
That would be great. Let's do it. Young. I don't know what her name was growing up.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's what it is. Yeah.
When he walked through and like he had that one wish, I gotta tell you, I was like, oh, that looked like a celestial. I was like, man, are we gonna get like a glimpse of Galactus here or something? Like, you know,
a lot of when the thing's taking shape, it looks like a Galactus head.
And he's like, no, I want my daughter to live again, and I want her to hang out with the guy I've been trying to kill the entire movie because I've had a mission and now I failed and I'm dying. And I'm gonna put my kid. Like, what are you talking about, man? Okay. Yeah, and all those other little kids that were imbued with the power of Thor and everything else like that. Get out of here, man. All of a sudden now is the bad news bears. See, now you guys are getting me going. Now I'm getting irritated.
What about Christian Bale in general?
I don't care for this shit.
I was waiting for us to talk about the fact that Thor gave his Thor powers to everyone else. Does that mean?
Oh, that was great. I love that.
Does that mean? Is that like the Nova, like the Green Lantern battery, where like he gave a small percent, like the power cosmic? I guess Galactus gives that to all his surfers or his heralds. Does that mean like Thor's power went down a certain amount? Like I don't understand how.
There's a bunch of math questions associated with it. It's like how powerful is Thor if he's able to divide his power amongst all these kids?
Now he's Shazam. Now he's giving his powers to everybody. It's ridiculous. And also, why is Stormbreaker able to be picked up by just anybody now? I thought it was supposed to be just like Mjolnir, supposed to be worthy. Now everybody's picking these fucking.
He never put that thing on the hammer.
Well, he should have. He put everything. He's like, take care of her. Now it's just right.
It would have helped out a lot if he had made that.
Yeah, that was a weird how Mjolnir just came back together. I'm like, wait, he didn't try that before? He just let it sit there? I'm like, wait, wouldn't Mjolnir still talk to him and be like, hey, I can come back together and like
they did not establish it was
I don't understand. And it flew into different pieces. I'm like, oh, it can go back together. I'm like, well, then why wasn't Thor able to use that hammer again? Like he just should have been able to pick that back up and use it. He didn't need Stormbreaker based on.
You should have put the little pieces in a slingshot or a rocket cannon.
Yeah, when Thanos the thing, like in Ragnarok, he should have went back and picked up the hammer. Like again, I'm just.
He should have blew the dust into Thanos' face.
What it means is that the events of Endgame are even now more irritating because he just sat there playing freaking Fortnite, getting fat when he could have been like sitting there trying to put the damn hammer back together.
Yeah, we're helping Jane out.
That is correct. That is correct. That's correct. Although love story. I'm glad Korg met a nice guy named Blaine, so that's a plus. Yeah. That's when two rock monsters get together and stand under lava. I'm like, all right, cool. This is a backstory I didn't know I wanted to know, but
Mike needed to have his moment on the screen still, so he gets obliterated, but he keeps a face, and he has Valkyrie tied around the back of her head, so at least he can still get his jokes in. Like, come on, man. This is not the the Korg movie, bro.
And finally, Natalie Portman. Let's talk about her quickly. I appreciate her performance. I think there's a nuance to being someone who has cancer. I don't particularly think that she went full out with her like Thorness, but like when she's talking about catchphrases and whatnot. Yeah. But again, it's Natalie Portman, so I'm like, I'm cool. Like, I'm fine with it. Any thoughts on Natalie Portman, you two gentlemen, on her performance as Thor?
I thought she looked fantastic. The costume, she definitely got into shape. Her arms were pretty much as ripped as Chris Hemsworth, and I feel like that's an impossible feat to achieve. If you haven't followed Chris Hemsworth on Instagram or whatever, you see his workouts; they're insane. So I thought she looked really good. So it's going to be a shame if that's the last we see of her in this role. And I did like that she craved this kind of like the fighting. Like she was like, "Oh, I want to go fight. I want to be like a part of this." And when she shows up to do her sacrifice, and when Thor looks over at her and he's like, oh, I know what's going to happen now after this, but they proceed to fight together. I liked it.
Rob?
Yeah, I thought she was okay. Yeah, she was good in it. I wanted to see more of her. It's a huge departure from the Mighty
she could
Thor
use like
comic
10,
run, right?
10, 15 more minutes. Yeah.
Like that run of comics, like you don't really know who it is. And the person, this Thor goddess of thunder speaks like Thor in the comic. And so obviously this does not happen in the movie. It's just Natalie Portman speaking in her, Boston English. And so I was like, okay, fine, creative differences. I would have liked, though, for Thor not to have known who it was. We could be in on the secret, but for Thor not to have known, I thought for them to then reveal it so early and then waste that whole love story, to be honest with you, because it kept getting hijacked by Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. So I was just
That's the greatest part.
So I just wanted to see more of her. I wanted to see her transformation. I wanted her to be more powerful. I wanted her to be rescuing Thor. Do you know, like I felt like she was just like a sidekick, and I thought that she deserves to be elevated in her stature as the mighty Thor. So I don't know. I just felt like she did a great job. I just felt that they wasted the character.
All right, John. That on a positive note, Roy Keane. So I'm excited for more Goldstein in the future as Hercules. So Hercules.
Really had his ring
based on how hairy he is. You think?
What's your question, John?
Well, did they cast him because of how hairy he is?
They can just CGI that, John. Don't worry about it.
CGI. You know what's hard to CGI? Hair. All right, and they're gonna cover this whole guy with hair. Like Hercules is known to be a pretty hairy dude, I think. So
John, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They've changed things around. They can make it a little less hairy. I don't think anyone's gonna know. So
yeah,
sure. I guess so.
It's all right. Natalie Portman was wearing platforms when she was in Thor costume. We didn't notice that. And they did a lot of the Lord of the Rings things. So because she's really short. So in the movie, to try to make her like similar height as Chris Hemsworth, because when she gets to Thor, she's actually bigger. And unfortunately, John, to burst your bubble, the rippedness some of it was CGI. She wasn't all that ripped. There are many pictures.
Well, she looks good in the costume.
She did work out, but there are dots to make it even more svelte. So, unfortunately, John, tell us where we can find you in the internets and in the desert of the real.
Yeah, first of all, thank you everybody for subscribing, following, sharing all our stuff. It's much appreciated. If you're not, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Heroes World Online. If you're listening to the audio, Heroes World podcast on Spotify and iTunes and wherever you get your podcast services. And if you want to check us out in the desert of the real, we're located in Markham, Ontario. Tons and tons of stuff on the shelf. Lots of cool things that we can recommend to you. And we're doing a lot of work to get the store really nice. So definitely come out and check it out. And thank you, everybody.
Rob, what's going on the Sidekick Show?
Yeah, so this week, Monday Night Live, 8:15 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Listen, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince had one hell of a song back in the early 2000s called Summertime, and Big Willie was just slapping that track pretty hard. So it's summertime, and so what we're doing this Monday is that we're going to be discussing our favorite summertime movies, things that we like to watch that remind us, that feel just at home at summertime, just as much as Die Hard is a Christmas movie. What is your summertime movie? So definitely tune in. John's got his pick. I've got some of mine, and we're going to discuss them, and we'll definitely get in. We want to know yours. So tune in with us live Monday night, 8:15 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. On the YouTube, you get all the comments there, and everybody else is contributing, and we'll discuss theirs. So there we are.
Awesome. So thank you for joining us today. Be safe out there. Have a good one, and see you later.
Peace. Thank you, Stu.